So today what we're going to do is we're going to do section 4.4. This is the second part of chapter 5. You're going to notice that it's in chapter 4 of your textbook and section 4 of your textbook. Okay? So slope. Slope can be represented in many different ways. Sometimes we see it as the letter M. Sometimes we see it as the rise over the run. And you heard Miss Clemenson talk about that a lot. Rise over run. It's the change in Y over the change in X. And the one that we're going to focus on today is this right here. This is the slope formula. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And in fact, every single time you use this formula today, you're going to write it down. And the reason why I want you to do it is because it's that important. If you don't get slope, we're done. Okay? This is very pivotal in what we're doing this chapter and the rest of the year. Okay? So first of all, when we look at slope, slope is the rise, which is going either up or down. If I go up, it's going to be positive. If I go down, it's going to be negative. And then it's over the run. Okay? So let's look at this first one. Now we pick the dot closest to the left-hand side. So I'm going to start with this dot right here. Okay? And essentially what this is directions. Like, what do I do with this dot right here to get to the other dot? Okay? So I'm going to go M equals, notice that I'm going to move up 1, 2, 3 spots. So this is plus 3, because I move up 3. And then I move to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to move over 4. So my slope then is a 3 over 4, which is 3/4. So when given this in your homework, all you need to do is count. All right? This is a positive slope because I go up from left to right. And you're going to be doing that in your homework today. You're going to be given something like this. You're going to have to tell whether it's positive, negative, no slope, or zero slope. And then it's going to ask you to write the slope. Okay? Let's look at this one. I'm going to start with the dot that I get to first, or the point I get to first, and that's right here. Right? So am I moving up or down to get to the next stop? I'm moving down. So that's going to be a negative. Okay, and by the way, if I'm moving down, is it going to be a positive or a negative slope? It's going to be a negative slope. Okay, I'm going to move down. How many down do I go? That is correct. I'm going to go down 6. And then, if I move down 6, I go over how many? 2. So M equals, what goes in the numerator? The negative 6 goes in the numerator, and then the 2 goes in the denominator. And then I can reduce that as negative 3 over 1, because they're both even, correct? And then I can go even further and say it's negative 3. So when you do this, I want M equals negative 6 over 2. And then if you want to reduce it right away to negative 3, I'm fine with that. You don't have to necessarily put negative 3 over 1. But if you need to, you can. Questions? All right, let's keep going. Now, I'm going to start with this dot right here. Okay? What type of line is this? This is a horizontal. Am I moving up or down? I'm not doing either, am I? So M equals, what number do I put to represent I'm not going up or down? 0. I'm going to use a 0. Okay, and then I'm moving to the right how many? 6. Now I want you to take your calculators and I want you to do something for me. I want you to take 0 and I want you to divide it by 6 and I want you to tell me what you get. You do get 0, yes. Every horizontal line has the slope of 0, always. Okay, always. It's something kids tend to forget. That's why I usually put the fraction there for them, and have them do their calculators. That you can remember. Okay? Let's go to the next one. What type of line is this? Vertical. It is vertical. The vertical line. It doesn't matter which dot you choose. I'm going to choose the top one to start with. M equals. Now, do I move up or down? I move down how many? 5. So what am I going to put for my numerator?
5 over 0.
Negative 5, right? Because I'm moving down. I'm moving down, so this is a negative 5. And I don't move left to right, so what do I put in? I put in 0. Now, take your calculators. What do you get when you take negative 5 and divide it by 0?
0 divided by 0, error.
I get error. It's not 0. Do not write error on your test. Okay? You got to be smarter than that. Right? When this happens, what you're going to do is you're going to put a 0 with a line through it, and this is undefined. You can't do it. Think of it this way. If I look at the horizontal line, could I take a bicycle and ride that line? I could. In fact, would it be very hard? It wouldn't be hard at all. It has 0 effort. It's super easy. Right? Can I take a regular bicycle and go up a vertical line? No, I can't do it. So it's undefined. I can't do it. You don't have the slope. So if you think of it that way too, it might be a little bit easier for you. Okay? Questions on these? All right, let's move on. If I take a look at these problems right here, do you notice, are they graphed?
No.
No. Did I give you a graph?
No.
No. So if you're given something like this, do not graph it, right? What I want you to do on this is I want you to use that formula, right? So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to take the first point and I'm going to label it point 1. And I'm also going to label it x1, y1. Every time you do this, you're going to do this to it. Every single time. In your homework, on a quiz, on a test, whatever. It's that important and you're learning this. Next year, do I expect all my geometry kids to do this? No, I don't. In Algebra 2, do you have to write point 1, point 2, blah, blah? No, you don't. But you're also farther along in your math. We don't spend a whole day on slope. It's a very teeny tiny piece. It's maybe like a 2-minute quick thing before we move on to other things in geometry. Right? The second point I'm going to label as point 2, and I'm going to label it x2, y2. Now, it really doesn't matter which point you label as point 1 or point 2. It really doesn't matter. But what does matter is if I label this first point, point 1, it has to be x1, y1. It cannot be x1, y2. Don't do that. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Every single time you do a problem for me, you're going to write this down. If you don't, I won't accept it. And the reason why I do is this. My kids in geometry this year, when this thing came up in their geometry, they're like, I so remember this. I hated you when we had to do it every single time. But boy, I remember it. And now it's really easy, and I'm going to ace this part of my geometry test. And when I take my plan test this year, I'm going to do really well on it. Okay? Now we're going to follow this like a recipe. So I've got y2. What number represents that? 1. And then I'm going to go minus, what's y1? Negative 1. y2 is negative 2 minus negative 3. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to do the chop, chop. What do I get for my numerator? 2. I'm going to do my chop, chop in the denominator. What do I get?
1.
And my answer is 2. When you do your notes, I want it identical to what I have. Because if you don't do it exactly the way I want it, when you get to your homework, are you always going to remember?
No.
You're not going to remember. And you're not going to have anything to help you with it. You're going to have problems. All right, let's take a look at the second one. I've got point 1, point 2. x1, y1, x2, y2. Let's write that formula. M equals what?
y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
Good. If you see it and say it and write it, you'll remember it. Okay? All right, what's my y2? 3 minus, nope, not 1. Negative 2, right. x2, 1 minus 1. That's right. All you got to do is look up above to what you labeled it. All right, numerator is what? It's 5 because I do my chop chop. What do I get for my denominator? 0. So 5 divided by 0 is?
Undefined.
It's undefined. What kind of line is it? Vertical.
We have to write vertical down.
I would write vertical down.
We just write a V down, or is
I'll write vertical. And the reason why I do that is because kids forget. You forget. And it's so important. Wouldn't it be terrible not to do well on your ACT because you forgot this? Because it's not hard. You can do it. Yeah, it wouldn't be good at all. No, and you definitely can do it. So that's why I want you to do it. All right, last problem on this set. I got point 1, point 2, x1, y1, x2, y2, formula. And again, I see about 3 of you, you're like, I'm not writing the formula down. I'm not labeling the points. That's fine. But when you get to your homework, I hope you remember, because if you don't do it on your homework, I'm not going to accept it. I need that formula. I want it down. What's the formula?
y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
Good. What's my y2?
7.
What's my y1?
7.
Over x2
4.
minus
Negative 3.
negative 3. What's my numerator?
0.
Over
7.
7. Answer?
0.
It is 0. And what type of a line?
Horizontal.
Yes. Excellent. This is really the last hurrah with this stuff. Next year, I don't spend hardly any time on it. But it's assumed that you know it and we go running. Okay, that's why we're taking the time to do it today. Questions? All right, let's move on. We're going to find the missing value. Now this is going to seem like, oh my goodness, this is so hard. It's really not. All right? Let's write the formula down first. So I have M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, and I'm going to label my points. What this is getting at is I've got a slope and I've got some ordered pairs, but I got a piece missing on my ordered pair and I don't know what to do about it. I've got to figure it out. And they didn't give me a graph, so how am I going to figure this out? Okay? Now, did they give me the M? They did. They said it was what? 5/6. So I'm going to take 5/6 and I'm going to plug it in for M. What's my y2? Negative 1 minus
4.
over y x2
6.
minus
X.
x. I don't know if that, do I? Okay. I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to go 5 over 6 equals, I got negative 5, and I've got 6 minus x. So all I did was clean it up a little bit. Now, whenever I have an equal sign and I've got fractions, we do something that's called, what? Do you know what that's called? Cross multiply, cross products. Yep, absolutely. So this is how you're going to do it. You're going to take 5 parentheses 6 minus x. And you got to put it in parentheses because I'm going to take 5 times 6 minus x. And then goes equals, and I'm going to take 6 times negative 5. Okay, the 6 minus x has to be in parentheses. It has to, because I'm going to do the distributive property with it. Okay, so 5 times 6 is 30, minus 5x equals negative 30. The hardest part of this is the cross products, setting it up. Once you have it set up, the distributive property, it shouldn't be hard. How do I solve for x now? Yes, minus 30, negative 5x equals negative 60. Then what? Divide by negative 5. X gives me 12. Done. Again, not hard. It's not hard, it's just different. And that's what you're trying to find. Questions? Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Same type of thing. I'm just going to take a line and cut that off. Okay, and I'm going to take my formula. So I'm going to go m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this is 0.1, 0.2, x1, y1, x2, y2. And you'll notice it's just like your favorite recipe. Like you hardly have to look at the recipe because it's grandma's old-fashioned cookies and you just kind of know what to do. Now, do I know what m is? What is it?
3.
They gave me 3. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write 3 equals, okay, what's my y2?
7y.
7y minus 3 over
Negative 6.
minus,
9.
good, okay? I'm going to keep bringing this down. Now, 3 can be written as 3 over what?
1.
1. And I'm going to just clean this up a little bit. Negative 6 minus 9 is?
Negative 15.
Yes. Good. Okay? Now what would I do? Cross multiply. Very good. Right? So I've got 3 times negative 15 equals 1 times,
7y.
excellent. And if you don't know which one to put parentheses around because you don't know, put parentheses around all of them. Doesn't hurt. Put a parentheses around the 3, the negative 15, the 1, and then of course 7y minus 3 is together in one parenthesis. Okay, what's 3 times negative 15?
Negative 45.
negative 45. And then 1 times all this stuff is itself, right? Now what? Maya.
3 to both sides.
Beautiful. Add 3 to both sides. Okay, negative 42
42.
equals 7y. Divided by 7. Y gives me negative 6, and I'm done. It's an application of slope, is what this is. It's like, who cares about slope? Like, I can, graph it and count it out. This would be harder to do. Could be done, but it's harder to do. Okay. Slope. Okay, someone saw this earlier today and they're like, seriously, rate of change? I hate rate of change. Rate of change is just slope. That's all it is. Okay? Like some kids see fractions and they freak out. Fractions is just division. Don't let it get you uptight. Okay? Let's take a look at an example. So the table shows the change in temperature over what? Over time. This is important. Okay? Find the rate of change in degrees Fahrenheit with respect to time. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick 2 sets of information. I'm going to pick this one, and then I'm going to pick this one. I don't know why I did. I just chose to. You can pick any 2 different sets. Okay? Now remember they said it's temperature over time. So let's look at that. I'm going to go temp over time. So is temperature going to be my x's or are they going to be my y's? It's going to be my y because it's rise over, it's a trip. It's tough. Because this looks like this would be my x category, my temperature, right? It's not, because it depends on how they want to represent that information. So what I'm going to do is one ordered pair is going to be 0, 38, and the other set of information is going to be 2, 43. So just because they give it into you in the tables does not mean the first column is going to be your x. We okay with that? Make sense? All right. So then I'm going to do point 1, point 2, x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our formula. So what's our formula again? M equals? Very good. Y2 minus Y1 over? Good. Y2 is? 43 minus? 38 over?
2 minus 0.
Good. What's my numerator?
Oh, wait, 5.
5. But you're right, it's over 2. Okay, now, what does that mean? Correct. But what does 5 over 2 mean in this situation?
Next number.
Correct. It could be a mixed number. However, slope, we never do it as a mixed number. This is reduced. But put it into the word problem. Temp over time. So what's going on? Is the temperature going up or is it going down? It's going up 5 degrees. So the temp goes up 5 degrees Fahrenheit. What? Excellent. Every 2 hours. That's how you read that information as it is. Now let's say I wanted to go a little bit further. Okay, I want to go outside with my friends and I want to know what's going to happen in the next hour. How do I take that information and get it into an hour? Okay, so take it and divide it by 2. What does it mean? What is it? how much is it changing? Temp goes up
2.5 degrees.
2.5 degrees Fahrenheit, or 2.5 degrees Fahrenheit.
Every hour.
Excellent. Every hour. And that's where slope helps you. Helps you find the rate of change, and now you can apply it to everyday life. And this is how they make projections for a weather forecast. They're just finding slope. Like, I'm projecting in the next 4 hours that we're going to get blah, blah, blah amount of snow, or blah, blah, blah amount of rain. Okay, they're finding slope. They're looking for patterns. Questions? Excellent. All right, that's it for today, and we're going to take a look at your assignment.